सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै गुरवे नमः समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नमोऽस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः हरि ओम. Hari Om everyone, Sitaram. Good morning. It is so nice to be here with you all this morning. We'll sing for a few minutes. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. So I'll chant and then you all repeat. Okay? Shri Krishna Kanhaiya Lal Ki Jai. Okay, so let me tell you all a little bit about what we are doing. Shinmay Mission Guyana, we have taken up the challenge of going through the entire Mahabharata over 14 days. So 2 weeks to go through the entire Mahabharata. Now, the Mahabharata is the largest epic, the largest written piece of literature that exists in the world today. It has 100,000 shlokas. 100,000 is a lot. The Ramayana, Tulsidasji's Ramayana, has around 12,000, and you see how big already that book is. Imagine 10 times that is the size of this Mahabharata. And it is written by none other than our Bhagavan Veda Vyasaji. Veda Vyasaji has written in this Mahabharata itself that there is nothing that exists in the world that is not in the Mahabharata. And if it is not in the Mahabharata, it means it doesn't exist in the world. Every single thing that you can think about has been addressed in this greater than greatest epic called Mahabharata. The interesting thing about the Mahabharata is that it is a historical story. It talks about kings and princes of the past. But it is not just history. In this historical story, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is also there. And so it is his story. Not only that, the entire Mahabharata is really a mirror which reveals to us what goes on not only in the world today, but in our own mind. And that is the most important thing that we study when we study this Mahabharata. There are good guys and bad guys. There are a few good guys and there are lots of bad guys. Just like in our mind, we have good thoughts and bad thoughts. Few good thoughts and a lot more bad thoughts exist in our mind. And like this, the thoughts are related. The thoughts have the same source. And in this Mahabharata, the main story is between who we call the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The Pandavas are 5 noble brothers that follow Dharma. And the Kauravas are 100 wicked brothers that follow Adharma. And so, circumstances have brought them to fight against each other. A war is going to happen in about 13 years or so from right now where we are in the Mahabharata. Let me tell you what has happened so far. Yesterday, we were seeing how the leader of the Kauravas, his name is Duryodhana. And he is not just wicked, but he is very jealous. And he is filled with hatred for the Pandavas. You know, wicked people, they can't stand to see good people. He was like that. He couldn't stand to see their goodness. He couldn't stand to see their prosperity, which they had gotten by all noble means. And so, by unfair means, he steals their kingdom from them. Not only does he steal their kingdom from them, he humiliates them, and in a great assembly filled with great people, all the 5 Pandavas are disrespected, along with their wife, Draupadi. Long story short, in a game of dice, a condition is set that whoever wins, you know, a game of dice, gambling is terrible. Because of what happens in the Shastra when you see people gambling, they warn us of its dangers. And so, in a game of dice, the challenge has been put forth. Whoever loses is going to have to go to the forest for 12 years of exile. You know how Bhagavan Ram went to the forest for 14 years of exile? The condition here was you will go to the forest for 12 years of exile. But you won't come back after that. After that, for 1 year, for the 13th year, you have to go into hiding. Incognito. You know you have incognito mode? on the phone nowadays, you have to go incognito in real life. If you are found in that 1 year, then your 12 years of exile starts all over again. This was the condition. So 12 years of exile, and then 13th year incognito, hiding. If we find you, then the 12 years starts again, and then the 1 year of incognito. If we don't find you, at the end you return back from exile like normal, and everything goes back to as it was. This was the condition. The dice that they were playing with was rigged. And so obviously, the Kauravas, the bad guys, won. And the Pandavas now had to go into exile for 12 years. For no fault of their own, really. They didn't do anything that warranted 12 years of exile. The Pandavas' leader, the oldest brother, his name was Yudhishthira. And he was the son of Dharmaraj himself. Dharmaraj is Yamaraj, same. Lord of death, Lord of Dharma was his father. And he was so noble that he couldn't even in dream do something that was wrong. And so he accepts that they have made a mistake, they have lost in this game of dice, and they head out for the forest. You know how when Bhagavan Shri Rama was leaving for the forest, everybody in the entire kingdom was sad. They were crying. They wanted to go along with Bhagavan Ram and Sita ji and Lakshman ji. And Bhagavan Ram said, "You can't come with us." They said, "No, we are coming." And Bhagavan Ram had to find a way to make sure that they can't come. Well, it was the same with the Pandavas. They were such noble people that everyone in the kingdom wanted to go with them. But Yudhishthira said, you all can't come with us. The forest is not an easy place to live. You can't leave your homes and live with us for 12 years. So somehow they convinced the citizens to not come. But the Brahmanas and the Rishis who were in the kingdom, they said, "Well, we are accustomed to living in the forest. It is good for us to live in the forest. We are coming with you." And so many Brahmanas, many Rishis and Munis accompany these Pandavas now into the forest for their exile. Remember, they were not just ordinary people going into the forest. They were not even just princes. Actually, Yudhishthira was a king. Not just a king. He was the most powerful king at the time. So powerful that, it was because of his power and his prosperity that his cousin Duryodhana got so jealous. And so now he goes from being the greatest emperor in the land to walking barefoot, wearing deer skin. And it is heartbreaking for everyone to see what is happening. When they go now, and these Brahmanas are there, remember Yudhishthira is so noble. And he's thinking, how are we going to feed all these Brahmanas? It doesn't matter that we are in exile. It is our duty to feed Brahmanas. Is it not the duty of the Kshatriyas to take care of the Brahmanas? Now they are with us. We don't have food and we don't have any food for them. So he asks his guru who has accompanied them. He asks his guru, "What can I do? Because this hurts my heart to know that we have these Brahmanas with us, but we cannot take care of them." And so his guru Dhaumya says, "You know what you should do? You pray to Surya Devata. Surya Devata is the one who actually provides food to everybody. So you pray to him, do tapas and invoke him, and he will surely help you." And so Yudhishthira sits and does tapas. And his tapas is so intense that in one day, Surya Devata comes to him. And one day he comes to him. And Surya Devata says, "What can I do for you?" And Yudhishthira tells him his dilemma. "Look, we are in the forest. We have all of these Brahmanas here with us. How can we take care of them when we ourselves don't have food?" And at this time, Surya Devata gives Yudhishthira a very special copper pot. It is called Akshaya Patra. Have you heard of this Akshaya Patra? Oh, I'm so excited to tell you what it is then. The Akshaya Patra is this special copper vessel which Surya Devata explains. He says every day this copper vessel is going to be filled with food. Like you wake up in the morning and it gets filled with food. It seems like the food magically appears. Like they don't even need to cook it in the pot. This pot gets filled with food. And the special thing about this is it will never get finished. The food that is in this pot is akshaya. It is infinite. It will never finish. You can eat as much as you want. You can feed as many people as you want. And the pot will keep getting filled and keep getting filled and keep getting filled. And it is only when Draupadi, the queen of these Pandavas, when she eats and she washes the pot, that this pot will be empty now for the rest of the day. And then no more food will come from this pot after Draupadi has eaten. And then the next day when you wake up, it is filled again. And so the Pandavas never had an issue to have food, and they never had an issue to feed the people that were there with them. Isn't that so cool? See how when you're on the path of goodness, the whole world conspires to take care of you, no matter what happens. And so now, they're in the forest, and this section is called the Vana Parva, the chapter of their life in the forest. It is a most austere time that they spend in the forest. When they're in the forest, Bhagavan Sri Krishna comes to meet them. And I was telling yesterday how, Draupadi, who is Bhagavan Sri Krishna's friend and like his sister, she cries to him and she complains to him about the terrible treatment and the terrible things that these Kauravas had done to her and to her husbands. And she complains to Bhagavan Sri Krishna about her husbands, how her husbands didn't stand up and defend her and protect her and do nothing. And he was the only one who protected her at that time. And she cries and she complains to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and she is so hurt about everything that has just happened to her. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, you don't worry, all the wicked things that they have done, they're going to pay for it. They're going to pay for it so badly, you don't need to worry. I am going to make sure that every single wicked thing that has been done by every single wicked person over there, they are going to pay for it. And so Bhagavan promises Draupadi that everyone is going to pay for their mistakes. Now you switch back. You go back to that kingdom, Hastinapur, where this huge drama happened and from where they were banished into exile in the forest. And the king of that kingdom, his name is Dhritarashtra. He's blind. He's not just physically blind, he's also mentally blind. He's totally blinded by his love for his son. And here at this time, he realizes that everybody in the kingdom now hates him. Everybody in the kingdom hates his sons. Everyone in the kingdom hates them for what they have done to these noble Pandavas and how they have sent them off to the forest. And so he calls the prime minister of the kingdom, who happens to be an incarnation of Lord Dharma himself, and his half-brother also. And he says to him, Vidur, I need you to make me feel better. I need you to console me. My heart is hurting. I feel so bad because of what everyone is saying and how everyone hates us. And Vidurji tells him, you are to blame. It is your fault that all of this has happened. You know what you should do to stop this pain in your heart? Go, send for the Pandavas. Tell them to come back. Tell them you're sorry. Give them back their kingdom. Apologize to them. They are so noble that they will accept your apology and they will forgive you, even though you guys have done such terrible, heinous, demonic things to them. And Dhritarashtra looks at him and says, don't ask me to do that. And Dhritarashtra says, since you praise them so much, why don't you go to them? And Vidurji says, you know what, enough of this hatred for the Pandavas. I am going to go to them. And he leaves the kingdom and he goes now to meet the Pandavas in the forest. And the Pandavas are so happy to see their uncle come and meet them. And they talk and they spend time with each other. And then Dhritarashtra realizes he's made a mistake. And he misses his brother Vidur so much that he sends a chariot to bring back Vidur to the kingdom. And Vidur thinks that, maybe he's turned around and he's become better and he's going to repent and he's going to ask the Pandavas to come back. But Dhritarashtra is so blinded by his attachment for his wicked son Duryodhana that he cannot ask the Pandavas to come back. And so the Pandavas are stuck now in the forest for 12 years. When Duryodhana saw Vidur coming back, he was scared that he was going to convince his father to bring back the Pandavas. And so all of them now, Duryodhana with his gang, he has a gang of wicked people, equally as wicked as him. His second brother Dushasana, his Mamu Shakuni. Can you imagine having a Mamu who's wicked, who comes and makes you more wicked? That's who he had. And he had a friend called Kara. But let me tell you something. A friend, when they see you doing something wrong, are they supposed to watch and say, oh yeah, good, do more of it? When your friend sees you doing something wrong, they're supposed to scream at you and say, what is wrong with you? Stop this nonsense. But this friend of Duryodhana went on saying, don't worry, we will go and we will attack them and we will put them in their place and they're weak and we will show them. And they encouraged Duryodhana to do more and more and more wicked things. Now, they're warned that if you don't return the kingdom to the Pandavas, you are going to be destroyed. But they don't listen. They say, if you can't hear, you will feel. Well, they are going to feel. And they are going to feel so badly. The rishis also in the forest are so shocked at how these Pandavas have been treated that they actually curse the Kauravas even more. And they say that you guys are going to pay so badly for everything you have done. But if you call the Pandavas, everything will be forgiven. But you think wicked people listen? Wicked people cannot listen. Anyways, Bhagavan Shri Krishna also promises that they are going to pay. And so everybody now knows that these Kauravas have to pay. The Pandavas have to find a way to spend 12 years in exile. And so what do? They go and live in a part of the forest where people can't come so easily. Because they don't want the citizens of the country to leave what they're doing and keep coming to them. They want to be in exile and be left a little bit alone. And so now here in the forest, they start to have satsang with the rishis of the forest. And satsang, the company of the saints, is the best thing that we can do when we are in pain, when we are angry, when we are hurt, when we have been wronged, when there is anger in our heart and we want to take revenge on the people who have done wrong to us. That is not the time to go to retaliate. That is the time to be in satsang, to let our mind understand what is dharma, what is adharma, to understand what is right, what is wrong, to pacify our mind. And at that time, when Markandeya Rishi comes and he tells them, do you know, Bhagavan Sri Rama also was banished to the forest, just like all of you. And just like all of you, he spent time in satsang, and he spent his time in the forest very happily. Actually, Yudhishthira was very happy to be in the forest. He had like sadhu qualities and he loved being around sadhus. So being here in the forest, being in satsang, it gave his heart peace. His heart was burning and it gave his heart peace, But for the rest of his siblings, it was terrible. Yudhishthira's brother, his next brother, his name was Bhima. He was strong and powerful. And he was so angry at what had been done. Actually, maybe I should tell you all what had been done, why he was so angry. What happened was, In the game of dice, after Yudhishthira had lost all of their wealth, they instigated Yudhishthira, and Yudhishthira ended up losing all his brothers one by one to be slaves of these wicked Kauravas. And they ended up losing also their wife Draupadi to be a slave. And Draupadi comes in there and she questions and she says, well, if Yudhishthira lost himself first, am I really lost? Did he have a right to wage me? And in a big drama, what happens is that these wicked people try to disrobe Draupadi in front of all of the men over there. And it is Bhagavan Shri Krishna who takes avatar as the clothes that she's wearing, and he protects this Draupadi. And this is why, and they say things that are so terrible that really should not have been said by anybody cultured. And so Bhima is angry and he says, Yudhishthira, how can you let these people go? We shouldn't wait the 13 years. We should go right now. And we should put them in their place and we should show them that who do they think they are? They think we're not powerful? Let us go and put them in their place right now. And Draupadi also says, yes, let us go and let us fight with them. And they're so angry and they're like, this is nonsense. We're not waiting in this forest anymore. Forget this exile. We're going to go and we'll fight with them. We're going to put them in their place. And Yudhishthira says, you know, more valuable to me than anything in the world is truth. And I have given my word that I'm going to be in the forest for 13 years. So we cannot go back. Now is not the time for us to go back. And they are so angry with their brother. They are so upset with their brother. They cannot understand why Yudhishthira is saying this kind of thing. How he has so much tolerance and how so much acceptance for wicked people like this. And at that time, Draupadi says to him, you know, look, your brother Bhima, look how strong he is. He's sitting and he's twiddling his thumbs around the trees. Your brother Arjuna, who should be fighting with arrows, he's throwing pebbles into the lake. Your brothers Nakula and Sahadev, who are skilled with the sword, they're picking baskets of fruits. This is what you want your brothers to live with? This is how you want them to live? You were the emperor, and here you are, sitting like a sannyasi. I cannot bear to see this. This is unbearable. Let us just go back. And at this time, Yudhishthira tries to explain to them how anger is a terrible thing. Anger blinds our wisdom. Anger destroys us. Anger kills us. Anger makes us do wrong things. And he says we should not do anything in anger. And he says now is the time to be patient. They cannot understand how Yudhishthira can be so patient. And Bhima says, look where your dharma has brought us. We listen to you, we follow the dharma that you say. Those people following adharma, they have everything. We following dharma, look where we have ended up, with nothing. What kind of dharma are you talking? Forget this dharma. Is he right or is he wrong? You see, dharma is not easy. It is very, very difficult. A, to know what is dharma, and B, to follow dharma. Well, at this time, when they're fighting, but they're so hurt by what their brother has done. Their brother feels their pain, but he also knows that it is not the right thing to go back on his words. And Yudhishthira is the kind of person who followed dharma to the T, to every drop of what dharma is supposed to be, he followed. At this time, the great Veda Vyasa Rishi comes. And in the midst of this tension of these siblings who are so angry and impatient, he comes and he says, actually Yudhishthira is right. Actually your brother is right. Now is not the time to go and attack the Kauravas. Now they are very strong. If you go and you attack them, you are going to lose. Now is the time to be patient, but not sit here and twiddle your thumbs and wait helplessly. In these 12 years, you have to make yourself strong. You have to do tapas. You have to get weapons that are divine, that are going to be able to help you to fight these terrible adharmic people. You're going to have to equip yourselves and prepare yourselves to be ready. War is coming. These people that are wicked, they're not going to follow through with their bargain and give you your land back. You are going to have to fight. You are going to have to destroy them. You are going to have to rid the world of them. But you need to make yourselves stronger. You need to make yourselves more equipped to fight them. So use this time wisely. Do tapas. Make yourselves stronger. Get weapons that will allow you to fight them in such a way that they have no choice but to lose. And so Veda Vyasaji comes and he helps them to understand that what Yudhishthira is saying is indeed dharma. It is not the right time to go and fight. There is a right time for everything. You know when a mango is growing on a tree and it has reached the right size, but it is still green, you cannot pick it at that time. You cannot say, well, I just really feel like eating a mango right now, so let me just pick it. It doesn't matter how badly you feel like eating that mango, it is not the time for the mango to be picked. Otherwise, it is not going to be ripe and juicy and delicious. True or false? In the same way, things take their own time. It looks like dharma is losing in the short run, but dharma will never lose. Where there is dharma, there will always be victory. And so Veda Vyasaji says, Arjuna, you are the son of Indra Devata. Indra Devata has promised you divine weapons. You are going to need to get those divine weapons to fight with these Kauravas. But you can only get these divine weapons after you get the divine weapon from Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is going to give you a very special divine weapon that you are going to need in this war that is coming. So go, do tapas, appeal to Bhagavan Shiva, let him be pleased with you and let him give you this weapon. And so Yudhishthira now sends Arjuna to go and do tapas for Bhagavan Shiva. Arjuna now sits there and starts to do tapas in a deep part of the forest. When he reaches there, actually there's a sadhu who's sitting there. And he sees Arjuna coming. And he says, who are you? This place is not for, you don't look like a sadhu who has come to do tapas. You look like a warrior. You've come with weapons and this place is not a place to come and fight. Please go away from here. And Arjuna said, look, my name is Arjuna. I am a Pandava. I have come to do tapas to Lord Shiva and I have come to ask him for divine weapons and you cannot ask me to leave. And then he realizes that that sadhu who is there is actually Indra Devata himself, his father. And Indra Devata says, well, I bless you that your tapas will be successful. And so Arjuna now sits and he starts to do tapas for Bhagavan Shiva. He forgets food, he forgets water, and all that he can think about is Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva. He does such intense tapas. And Lord Shiva now wants to come to test him to see if really he's deserving of this special weapon that he has. And so one day Arjuna is sitting there in tapas and a Rakshasa takes the form of a boar and he comes towards Arjuna. And he's coming towards Arjuna like he's coming to kill Arjuna. And Arjuna takes out his bow and arrow and he pulls it and he hits this boar. He kills this boar with his arrow. It so happens at the exact moment that his arrow hits the boar, another arrow from the other side hits this boar as well. And Arjuna looks and says, who is it that dared to kill this animal that I was killing? And he sees a hunter, and he sees a hunter with his huntress. And he says to this hunter, you know, what kind of thing have you done? Did you not know that this was my boar to fight? I had already picked up my bow and my arrow to kill him. You cannot kill him too? And this hunter says, no, this was my boar. Why did you hit it? And this hunter challenges Arjuna and they start to fight. And they have this big battle now between the two of them. Arjuna takes out his arrows and he starts to shoot this hunter out of anger. And this hunter seems to not be affected by any of Arjuna's arrows. Arjuna had a very special quiver which had inexhaustible arrows, meaning no matter how many times he took out arrows, his arrows would never finish. But somehow, when he was fighting with this hunter, his arrows finished. He didn't understand. Then he took his bow, and with his special bow, the bow was his most loved thing in his life. You know how children love their phones nowadays? Their most loved thing in their life? Well, his bow was loved to him more than their phones. Because when a new phone comes out, they will leave that phone and take the new phone, is it not? But Arjuna would never, ever, ever, ever leave his Gandiva bow. He loved his bow so much. With this bow that he loved so much, now he uses his strong bow to try and fight with the hunter. But this hunter seems invincible. He puts his bow down and he takes up his sword. And now he tries to fight with this hunter with his sword. And no matter how much he tries, nothing is happening to the hunter. He puts down his sword and he's out of weapons. So he starts to use his hands now. And he starts to fight with this hunter with his hands. Punch and hit, and the hunter is fighting back. And Arjuna, who is so powerful, cannot defeat a simple hunter. Arjuna is so exhausted at the end of this fight that he almost faints, and he falls on the ground, and he's taking a break and he's taking a breath, and he sees mud in front of him. And with this mud, what he does is he makes a Shiva Lingam, a small tiny little Shiva Lingam, and he remembers Bhagavan Shiva, and he invokes Bhagavan Shiva, and he says, Bhagavan Shiva, you have to help me. I can't do this. I don't know why. And he takes a flower, he takes a few flowers, and he puts it on top of that Shiva Lingam. And he prays to Bhagavan Shiva. When he opens his eyes, he sees that those flowers are no more on the Shiva Lingam, but they're on the head of the hunter. And he goes to the hunter and he says, who are you? You are not an ordinary hunter. And he surrenders to this hunter. And this hunter says, actually, I am Bhagavan Shiva, and this is Parvati Ma, and I came to test you to make sure that you are worthy of this divine astra, this divine weapon that I am about to give you. And he says, really, Arjuna, you are worthy of it. And he teaches him how to use this astra. You know, divine astras, divine weapons, they're not like normal weapons which you take and you use. You have to chant a mantra to invoke the divine astra. So Lord Shiva teaches Arjuna how to invoke this divine astra called the Pashupata astra, which Arjuna is going to need to fight the Kauravas later on. And he blesses him. And at that time, Arjuna says, I want to see you in your true form. So Lord Shiva changes from a hunter into his real form, and he gives darshan to Arjuna like this. So now Arjuna has seen Lord Shiva, and he has been blessed by Lord Shiva. After Lord Shiva goes away, Indra Devata comes, and all the other Devatas come. And now one by one, they bless Arjuna, and they also give him their divine weapons. If Lord Shiva could give his divine weapon, we should give our divine weapons too. And one by one, Indra Devata gives his divine weapon, Yamaraj gives his divine weapon, Kubera gives his divine weapon, Varuna Devata gives his divine weapon, and all of them bless Arjuna to be victorious. Because when you are on the path of dharma, the Devatas also bless you to be victorious. And so now Arjuna is blessed with all of these powerful weapons. And at this time, the Lord Shiva tells Arjuna that actually, Indra Devata, he needs your help. It is time for you to now go to Swarga and be with your father Indra and help him. He needs some help. And so suddenly a bright light appears, and Arjuna, a chariot comes. Oh, I forgot to tell you. You know, when all these devatas were giving Arjuna their weapons, Arjuna wasn't like, yes, give me these weapons. Yes, give me these weapons. Arjuna was filled with humility. He was in tears, and he accepted these weapons with such humility that the devatas showered more and more and more blessings on him. And they said, please get into the chariot now and come to Indraloka with us. And so now Arjuna goes to Swarga. You know what is Swarga? Well, it is translated terribly as heaven. It is different than the Christian heaven, but it is a place where, you know, when you eat like a delicious gulab jamun and it tastes so yummy. Well, if that gulab jamun tastes like 100% yummy, if you eat that same gulab jamun in Svarga, it is 100 times more delicious than when you enjoy it here on earth. If you enjoy playing video games, in Svarga it is 100 times more joyous to play video games. Whatever you do here in Svarga, that joy is 100 times more. Imagine. So now, when you sleep, you know the sleep, how it feels so nice? 100 times more joyous than the current sleep we feel. You imagine what kind of joy would have been there in Svarga. So Arjuna goes there in this body, and he sits on the throne of his father with his father, and they look like the sun and the moon sitting on the throne together, and everyone is just mesmerized by them, and everyone is so happy. And Arjuna is a really friendly guy, so he makes friends with this Gandharva called Chitrasena, and they become BFFs, they become buddies. I mean, if they had Instagram, they might have taken selfies together and posted and all that kind of thing, right? Anyways, Arjuna makes friends with this Gandharva called Chitrasena. At that time, what happens is, you know, Swarga is filled with apsaras, beautiful celestial dancers. And one of them, her name is Urvashi. And she is there. And Arjuna looks at her one day. And she thinks that Arjuna is looking at her with eyes of desire. And she is also mesmerized by this Arjuna, and she decides at night to go and please him. And she goes to him and she says, Arjuna, I am here to please you. And Arjuna looks at her and he says, what are you talking about? I looked at you like a mother. I looked at you with reverence like I would for my mother. You are no different to me than my mother Kunti. I cannot see you in any other way than I would my mother. And Urvashi, the Apsara, gets angry. She says, nobody refuses me. How dare you refuse me? And she says, this manliness that you are so proud of, you're going to lose your manliness. You're going to become a eunuch now. You know what's a eunuch? Like a half man, half woman kind of person who, and this is Arjuna. He is the bravest, greatest, heroic warrior of all time. And he thinks, what just happened? He wasn't doing anything wrong and he got cursed. And so he goes and he tells his friend Chitrasena, look what Urvashi did, she cursed me. And Chitrasena says, don't worry, I will ask her to change the curse. Once a curse is given, it cannot be taken back. But what it can happen is the curse can be modified. So Chitrasena asks Urvashi to modify the curse. And instead of Arjuna becoming a eunuch forever, the curse is that he will become a eunuch for 1 year. Only 1 year. And he gets to choose which year he gets to become this eunuch. And Chitrasena tells him, actually this curse is going to be your biggest blessing in that 1 year when you have to remain incognito. No one will ever guess that this is you, Arjuna. And so Arjuna humbly accepts this curse. Now in Swarga, Arjuna learns how to sing, he learns how to dance, he enjoys, he spends time with his father. He also helps his father to defeat asuras. And in that process, he gets a chance to learn how to use all of the divine weapons that he got and he gets a lot of practice fighting with asuras. And so like this, his time in Svarga is passing. At that time, one Lomasha Rishi comes to Svarga, and Indra Devata tells him, you please go to Yudhishthira and his brothers and tell them how Arjuna is doing in Svarga, because they must be missing their brother so much. These brothers were like this. They loved each other so much, and really they were missing Arjuna like anything. And so now Lomasha Rishi goes back and he tells them how Arjuna is doing so well in Svarga. But before that, let me tell you how they were passing their time. Bhima was still so angry at what Yudhishthira was doing. Why are we waiting so long? We shouldn't wait anymore. We should go. Same story, same story of Bhima. He's angry and he's fighting with Yudhishthira and he's saying, this is enough. I can't wait anymore. Let us go and fight them. And at that time, a rishi came and spent time with them. And Yudhishthira said, have you seen or heard of anyone who is as unfortunate as us, going through so much trouble? And that rishi told Yudhishthira many stories of kings in the past who also suffered because they were following dharma. And interestingly, this rishi taught Yudhishthira how to play dice properly. He taught him how to play the game of dice so well. Such an interesting, strange thing to do in the forest, isn't it? But anyways, rishis can see things we can't. And he taught him the game of dice. Now Naraji comes. And Naraji tells Yudhishthira that it is time for you to go on a Tirtha Yatra. Tirtha is a very great, important part of our tradition in Sanatana Dharma, where you go to all holy places. And in doing that, you invoke Bhagavan, you do sadhana, you refine your personality. And so Yudhishthira and his brothers and their wife Draupadi, they all set off to do Tirtha Yatra now. And they say that at the end of your Tirtha Yatra, you will meet back Arjuna. And so their guru goes with them, the rishi goes with them, and they go to this beautiful place up in the mountains. At this time, Bhagavan Krishna also comes to meet them. Balaramji also comes to meet them. And they're so happy to see Bhagavan Krishna. Who will not be happy to see Bhagavan Krishna? Bhagavan Krishna was their cousin. But they loved Bhagavan Krishna. They knew he was Bhagavan. They loved him so much. Anyways, Balaramji, you know who's Balaramji, right? Krishna's older brother. His blood was boiling the whole time about what happened to them. He said, I can't believe Duryodhana had done such a thing. And he promises that they're going to get their revenge. Now, these Pandavas set off for Tirtha Yatra. They go to the most beautiful mountain. They go up. And you know when you go up a mountain, the air gets thinner and thinner and it gets harder and harder to breathe. So as they're going up, they were losing their breath and they were tired and they couldn't walk anymore. And Bhima, who is so strong, was ready to carry them. But he also was pale and he also was exhausted. And so all of them sit. And Draupadi, their wife, she has lost her color. She can't breathe anymore. Her feet have blisters. And so they all sit and they stop to take care of her. And at this time, Yudhishthira looks and he says, Yudhishthira feels really bad about what is happening. And he says, I promised your father that you were leaving one lake of lotuses and coming to another. And all that has happened since you have come is that you have suffered with us. And he apologizes profusely to Draupadi. And Draupadi is such a woman of character. She says nothing can be done when we have to face our karma. She doesn't blame him. She's angry, but she doesn't blame him. She understands that what they're going through is part of their fate. It is part of their own karma to go through. Anyways, at this time, Yudhishthira asks Bhima to call his son Ghatotkach. He was a half Rakshasa, means born of a Rakshasi and Bhima. Bhima had a wife who was a Rakshasi, a beautiful, nice, sweet Rakshasi. She wasn't a wicked one. And they had a son called Ghatotkach. And so Yudhishthira said, call Ghatotkach to come and help us. And so Ghatotkach carries all of them now to the top of the mountain. When they get to the top of the mountain, it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful that in the midst of this beautiful nature, in the calm quiet, it is as though all the pain that they had starts to melt away. Even Bhima's anger goes away. And for the first time, they start to smile. Draupadi starts to smile for the first time as though in her life. And they all get so much peace there in the midst of nature and in the midst of satsang. They're all so happy. At this time, one day, a flower blows from somewhere and lands in Draupadi's lap. And Draupadi smells this flower and she says, this is the most divine smelling flower I have ever gotten. And she says, Bhima, I want you to go and bring me more of this flower. Well, Bhima is just waiting to do something for Draupadi. He loves her so much. So he gets up and he's going in search now of this divine flower. And as he's going, he's following his nose, he's trying to smell it, and he gets to this part of the forest that seems impenetrable. Really, really, really hard to enter. And as he's going, he's making noise. You know, he's a big guy, so he's not a quiet guy. He's a big guy stomping and going and looking for how to get into this forest. And as he's going, there's an old monkey lying there on that path. And that old monkey says, who are you? What kind of noise are you making? You're walking around, disturbing everybody. This forest is not for people to go and make noise. And anyways, ordinary people can't get through here. And Bhima says, who do you think you are, you old little monkey, blocking my way? I have come and I have something to do. You please move out of my way. And this monkey says, look, I am old, I am tired, I can't move. You walk over me. If you really have to go, you stomp over me and you walk over me. And Bhima says, what is wrong with you? You are an elder. It is disrespectful to walk over an older person. In our tradition, we have that, right? You don't cross over somebody, you don't cross over instruments, you don't cross over books. It is disrespectful to do that. And so Bhima says, no, I cannot walk over you, you please move. And he says, if you're not going to move, then like my brother Hanuman, I'm going to have to fly over you. How Hanumanji flew over the river to go, the ocean to go to Lanka. And this old monkey looks at him and says, who is this Hanuman that you talk about? Your face became soft. Your face became sweet for the first time when you called his name. Who is this Hanuman? And Bhima says, you're a monkey and you don't know who Hanuman is? And he said, let me tell you who this Hanuman is. And he says, and he describes the greatness of Hanumanji. And then Hanumanji, and then this monkey says, oh, I see. He says, okay, fine. I see that you're a great person. Fine, you want to get through? Just move my tail. I'm too old and too tired to move. And so now Bhima goes to move the tail. How heavy is a monkey's tail? You could just flick it. And so Bhima goes to try to move it. Well, forget try to push it. He cannot even move this tail one dot. Bhima has the power of 8,000 elephants. He's the strongest man in the entire universe. And he cannot move the tail of this monkey. Bhima is not arrogant. And so he realizes this is not an ordinary monkey. And so he surrenders and he bows to him. And he says, oh monkey, please tell me, who are you? And that monkey smiles at him. I think when I started this story, some people smiled. I think you all know who that monkey is. That monkey smiled at him. And he says, oh Bhima, son of Vayu, I am Hanuman, son of Vayu. I am so happy to meet you, my dear brother. And really, they're so happy to meet each other. They give each other hugs. There are tears. Hanumanji tells him Ramayana. In Mahabharata, full Ramayana comes multiple times, you know? And so Like this, they have this beautiful meeting. And Hanumanji says to Bhima, what can I do for you? I want to give you something. And Bhima says, he can't think of anything to ask Hanumanji. That is how great people are, you know? And he says, I just want you to bless us to be victorious. You know, when we meet Bhagavan, we have choices. Bhagavan, I can't deal with this pain anymore. Please take it away. Bhagavan, I can't bear to see my parents sick anymore. Please make them better. Bhagavan, I can't bear this disease anymore. Please take it away. We hear people pray like that, isn't it? Well, Bhima teaches us really how we should pray. Instead of praying to Bhagavan to take our pain away, he teaches us that we should be praying to Bhagavan to give us the strength to bear whatever it is that is going to come into our life. And so he says, Hanumanji, please bless us that we're able to face the war that is to come and that we're able to be victorious. And so Hanumanji says, well, I am going to sit on the dvaja, the flag of Arjuna. And every time that conches are blown, I am going to roar so loudly that it is going to instill fear in the hearts of your enemies. And it is going to inspire you all to fight more. And so this is the beautiful meeting of these two brothers. And then Hanumanji gives him his blessings, and Bhima goes and picks the flowers for Draupadi. He doesn't forget why he came. He picks the flowers for Draupadi and he goes back. And he tells everybody about his meeting with this beautiful Hanumanji. And Draupadi is so happy. At this time, it has been like 5 years since Arjuna left. And it has been about 10 years since they were sent to exile. So much time has passed. And at this time, Indra comes to thank Yudhishthira for letting Arjuna come and live with him in Swarga and help him to defeat all the asuras that were troubling him. And he says that I'm now sending Arjuna back to you. And Indra brings Arjuna back to the Pandavas. The Pandavas cannot be happier to see Arjuna. They are so happy to see their brother. Arjuna is so happy to see them. Draupadi looks at him like she's looking at him for the first time in his life. There is so much joy. They are so happy to be united. And Arjuna tells them all the stories of all the things that happened since he left for tapas. How he met Lord Shiva, how he went and he got divine astras in Swarga. He tells them about his curse from Urvashi. He tells him about his friendship with Chitrasen. He tells them about the asuras that he defeated. And like this, he tells them how he got a special kavach, a special armor that is going to protect him. And they're so happy because they know Arjuna is more prepared now than ever before for war. Now they have 2 more years to spend in exile. But things don't finish so quickly, you know. Challenges keep happening. At this time, one day, Bhima is in the forest. And Bhima gets caught by a huge python. Bhima is really strong. He could have crushed that python like a little worm in 1 second. But somehow, when that python wrapped itself around Bhima, Bhima lost all his strength. And he said, "You are not an ordinary python. Who are you?" And that python said, "Actually, I am a great king, and I was cursed by a rishi to become a python. And that rishi told me that when I catch and I trap the strongest man in the world, at that time I will meet Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira will teach me dharma, and it is then that my curse will be over. You seem to be the strongest person in the world, and so I'm sorry that you have to die, but I need to meet Yudhishthira." And Bhima says to him, "You know what? I am not afraid of death. I am not scared to die. The only sad thing is for me to die in this way, without fulfilling my promise to Draupadi. I promised her that I would kill every single one of those Kaurava brothers. I promised her so many things, and it breaks my heart that I cannot fill my promise to her. That is what makes me sad." And as they're talking, Yudhishthira sees all these evil omens and he's wondering what is happening. And so he goes looking for Bhima. And he finds Bhima trapped in this python wrapped around Bhima. And he goes to this python and he says, "Who are you?" And this python says, "You must be Yudhishthira." And now they have a really, really wonderful dialogue. Yudhishthira has a wonderful dialogue with this Nahusha, his name is. And see, one question I'll tell you. This Nahusha asks Yudhishthira, "Who is a Brahmana?" And Yudhishthira says, "One who has the qualities of truthfulness, generosity, sympathy, dislike for cruelty, and the capacity to do tapas." Wonderful definition of a Brahmana or not? Like that, with great humility, he says, "In my opinion, I think this is the answer." And he answers all of Nahusha's questions. And Nahusha is so pleased with him that he says, "Here, I free your brother also." And so Bhima is also freed now. And Nahusha gets his curse broken and he becomes a king and he goes to Svarga. Okay, now 11 years are finished, completed. How many years are they supposed to be in the forest? 13. 12 plus 1. 11 years are finished. 2 more years. 1 year normal, 1 year in hiding. And it always is the ending part that is the most difficult. Is it not? You know, I don't know if you've watched people who are running races and all of that. Or if you fast for Navratri. The first few days are good. It's the last few hours of waiting and waiting and waiting before you break your fast and before you eat. It just feels like that is the most hard part. And so this last year before they have to go into hiding seems to be the hardest one for them. Anyways, at this time, Bhagavan Sri Krishna again comes to meet them and he tells them everything is fine, don't worry. He gives them motivation to keep going on. He says, all your sons are fine. Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son, has become so good at archery. They are all training. They're all getting ready for war. Everybody is happy. Everybody is peaceful. You just spend your years. And he sees Bhima and he sees Bhima's anger and he sees Bhima's face and he says, Bhima, don't worry. 2 more years and all this anger, you will get a chance to bring all of it out. Every single bit of this anger, you will get to release it on these Kauravas. Don't lose hope, don't worry. And he comes and he encourages them. Now on the other side, what you had was Duryodhana. He thought that 13 years was a long time. He thought in 13 years, everybody will forget the Pandavas. But do you know, every single day of those 11 years of the 13, he did not have 1 minute of peace. In the midst of his palace and all his riches with his father, just like his father, no peace. All he could think about was the Pandavas and how he hated them and how he was wishing that they were suffering in the forest and the Pandavas were okay, but he was not. You see? And so Brahmanas would come to the palace and Brahmanas would tell all the things that the Pandavas are going through. And they would hear all these things. And the Brahmanas would also tell them, would also glorify how wonderful these Pandavas were. And so, sitting in the palace, the king was feeling bad and Duryodhana was getting angry. He was getting, can you imagine being jealous of them after you have banished them to the forest? But when jealousy is in your heart, it just doesn't go away. And so, being in the palace, having them in the forest, wasn't enough. And so, Karna, Duryodhana's friend, says, why don't we go and show off all of our riches while they're living there like poor people. And let us show off our riches and let us make them jealous. And Duryodhana said, excellent idea. How are we going to do this? And so Karna comes up with an idea and he says, why don't we tell your father, the king, that we are going to go and inspect all the cows. We're going to make sure the cows in the kingdom are okay. So on the pretense of going to take care of the cows, they get permission to go now to the forest. It is called a Ghosha Yatra. Now you imagine what happens. They go there and they set up camp very close to where the Pandavas are. And with all their luxury and all their enjoyment and loud music and their ego and pomp and arrogance, full arrogance, they go to the forest. And Duryodhana decides that he wants to go and take a bath in the lake with his wives and enjoy. In the lake where they are, there are some Gandharvas, celestial beings, already enjoying that lake. So they send a message and say, go and tell that Duryodhana that we are in the lake and he cannot come. And so Duryodhana, he's full of arrogance and he says, how dare these Gandharvas tell me that I cannot go in the lake. So he goes there now to fight them. He and his whole army and Karna and all of them go to fight these Gandharvas. And they start to fight them. And the Gandharvas are so strong. They defeat Duryodhana's army like nothing. They even defeat Karna so badly that Karna runs away from there. And then they capture Duryodhana and they tie him up. And they tie up all the people that are with Duryodhana. And they've captured him. And now the servants that had come with Duryodhana, they run to Dhritarashtra, to Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira, who they had come to humiliate. They run to Yudhishthira and they say that these Gandharvas have captured Duryodhana, they've captured all these innocent people, and these innocent people are suffering now and we need your help to come and release them. And Bhima listens and Bhima's like, good for them. Finally someone is putting them in their place. Good for them. Ha ha ha. And he starts to laugh. And Yudhishthira says, Bhima, stop. You and Arjuna go and free Duryodhana. And Bhima says, Yudhishthira, what is wrong with you? Finally someone has put him in his place and you're asking us to go and free him? No! And Yudhishthira says, look Bhima, when we are fighting against each other, we are 100 and we are 5 and they are 100. But when a third person comes to fight, we are 105. We are one family. We have to stand up for them. And not only that, it is innocent people that are being captured, that are suffering. What will happen if people hear that they came to us for help and we didn't help innocent people, being Kshatriyas? And not only that, Duryodhana is ours to fight, not theirs. Why do you want them to have the glory of defeating Duryodhana that you've waited 13 years to fight with? So that makes Bhima say, okay, fine, you have a point. So grudgingly he and Arjuna go now to release Duryodhana. How they release Duryodhana? Very funny story. They get ready to fight with the Gandharvas, and it so happens that the Gandharva is Chitrasena, who is Arjuna's best friend. And Arjuna's like, oh my god, what are you doing here? And then they bond and they hang out for a little bit, and Chitrasena says, really Arjuna, you want to free them? Really? Okay, fine, we let them go. But it is Yudhishthira who sent you to free them. So we are going to return them to Yudhishthira. And so the Gandharvas now take this bound Duryodhana to Yudhishthira. And they say, what would you like us to do with Duryodhana? And Yudhishthira says, free him. And Yudhishthira says to Duryodhana, don't do such a stupid thing again. And spite doesn't bring happiness. Go back to your kingdom. I wish you well. What had Duryodhana come to do? And what happened? Duryodhana was so humiliated. He wished he could just die at that point. He wanted to starve to death. He never wanted to go back to the kingdom ever again. And at this time, Duryodhana's friends are wicked, so they come and insert wicked thoughts in his mind again. How they do that, what they do, that part of the story has to pause now and we have to see it tomorrow because my time finished. Right? But Yudhishthira's heart is so big, his clarity is so much that hatred cannot come in the middle of him following dharma. And his dharma is so strong that his dharma doesn't allow his brothers to follow adharma. His dharma is so strong that everybody around him, whether they like it or not, whether they want to or not, is forced to practice dharma and therefore is protected by dharma. Bhima would have died by King Nahusha. You remember when he was caught by that python? He would have died. How was he saved? He was saved because of Yudhishthira's steadfastness to dharma. So when Bhima gets angry and he says this dharma, dharma, dharma of yours, he doesn't remember that it is over and over again, that it is actually Yudhishthira's dharma that goes on protecting them, that goes on saving them, that goes on blessing them. Dharma is not easy. But the measure of doing something is not whether it is easy or not. The measure of doing something is in spite of it being difficult. We still do it if it is dharma. And these stories are there to remind us that life does not need to be easy for you to know that it is dharma. Look how much they suffered. Look how much Bhagavan Rama suffered. Suffering is part of our life. But with the suffering, when there is dharma, then there isn't pain. There's growth. Like this, the Mahabharata teaches us so many wonderful things about dharma. So it is a huge, huge, huge epic. We have seen a tiny, tiny, tiny little part of it today. If you want to see what happens next, well, you can tune in online. It is on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. And we will, or you can also join live in person. Tomorrow we will be in Namrik Mandir. You can come there, it will continue. On Tuesday, we will be in Parika. On Wednesday, we will be in Hubu. And on Thursday, I can't remember, the schedule is online, right? You can see, and wherever you would like to join at any time. Oh, we will be in Virgin Ocean on Thursday. Like this till Sunday it will go on. You're welcome to join at any of the mandirs at any time you would like. But a very special thank you to all the execs and the organizers, the Pandit of this mandir, for hosting this 7th day of this wonderful Mahabharata, where we get to, in 14 days, study the entire story of this awesome, awesome, awesome epic. I hope that something inspires you to think a little bit more. These stories are such that we're just hearing the surface of them. Each of them, if you just pause and think a little bit and double click, it has endless things to teach us. But when time is short, you have to go fast. So we are going very fast through this story. Okay. Oh yes, there's an opportunity if you know anyone who would like to host next Sunday's satsang. There's still one spot remaining. You can let others know. If any mandir would like to host it, that opportunity is there. Okay, I'll just take a couple of minutes and share a few announcements, and then we will do Aarti. So, Chinmaya Mission is a teaching organization. What we do is we teach. We teach Hindu Shastras, we teach Sanatana Dharma, we teach the meaning, we teach how to chant, we teach Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, we teach how to be a Pandit, we teach all ages also. The teaching in Chinmaya Mission starts when the child is in the womb, in the mummy's belly. And it goes, when the child is a baby, there's classes. When the child is a toddler, there are classes. When the child is a child, there's classes. When they become a youth, they have classes. When they become a young professional, there's classes. When they become a parent, there are special classes for them. When they become a senior, there are special classes for them. At every age, at every stage, there are special classes designed for the age and the mind of the person who is studying this wonderful Sanatana Dharma that is our heritage. So if you know anyone who's interested in studying this, interested in learning to chant, interested in learning the meaning, you please let them know. You can join online also. Our classes are available. Our ashram is in Monrepo. If you would ever like to come over the bridge and visit us, we will be there. Let us know and come and meet us. Very soon it will be fast to come. We're just waiting to see when this bridge opens. And then you all please come and visit us easily. You don't need to go wait in long line on the current bridge. And we'll look forward to seeing you all there. Okay? Okay, we will be starting a Gita chanting competition soon. We'll be teaching Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. When you learn to chant it, it reveals its meaning to you. So right now we are inviting people to become teachers. We will train you to chant perfectly the 20 verses, all you have to do is give half an hour 2 times a week, starting in October. That will go till about December. And then from January, those same 2 half hours in the week will become classes where you teach instead of learn. It's our responsibility to teach. It's your responsibility to pass. And if you pass with 100%, then you become a teacher. You teach this chapter, and so many people benefit from learning this wonderful chapter 12. So if you're interested, or you know anyone who may be interested, you please let me know. Last year we had a CXC student who found time to be a teacher also. It is not a big commitment, and it is a wonderful seva. All right. We have books. Oh, I didn't tell you, there's a super section coming tomorrow. We have so many books available, children's books, adults' books. If you're interested in any topic in spirituality, please do check it out. We'll have them on sale outside after satsang. Okay, right. We could do Aarti now. Someone can come in. Huh?
They might have
Okay, I'll do closing prayer and I'll pass it back to you all, right? Just I'll do Om Purnamada closing prayer and pass it back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki Jai. Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. Hara Hara Namah Parvati Pataye. Hara Hara Mahadev. Hari Om.